Yo, bro.
Yow, bro.
Yo, bro. I gave it a pause just in case. I gave it a pause. Learn from my previous guest mistakes.
Jim, hit us with the yo, bro.
Yo, bro.
we that's one of our starting rituals to see how people react.
It's, everyone's got a different reaction. You know what I mean? It's that's good though. It was a solid yo, bro.
Yeah, I caught on. I was gonna wait. I just wanted to wait for you to ask me.
Yeah, just the anticipation was the best part.
Yeah, I figured.
Dude, we have an exciting conversation this week. And one of the reasons is because we are joined by someone exciting as well. So last week we talked about some VR stuff, and we know there were some releases and stuff like that. There's still a lot of releases going on, but who better to talk to about VR than someone who has a little bit of history in VR? So Jim, if you don't mind, give us a quick elevator pitch, who you are, what do you do? And yeah, go for it.
Sure. My name's Jim Bradbury, and I've been in the video game industry for officially over 20 years. The last 7 of which I've been focused pretty exclusively on VR, and including some revolutionizing of VR and fitness. Getting some VR games off the ground, including some of the first games to hit the Vive and stuff like that. Have also jumped into some VR with educational technology and training technology, and I'm hopeful to have some new gaming news pop up a little bit here in the next month or two. So,
let's go.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it, and looking forward to chatting.
Of course. Thank you for joining us. I know before we get into the agenda, Abe said he might have something for us.
Well, yes. We are celebrating a holiday today. It is Valentine's Day.
Despite
and I
us
swung
all
by
being here doing a podcast at
Yeah.
5
Don't tell
5:30
Trisha.
p.m.
Yeah,
That's all right.
That's a good point.
The better halves understand. Go ahead.
Well, I swung by the old Plug Podcast PO box, and I found we actually got some Valentine's cards for you two.
Oh yeah.
So I figured I'd share them really quickly and see if make sure you guys gotta look at them since they're intended for you.
What is he
Is
setting
there a
us up
visual
for
on
here?
these?
Oh, there is.
Okay. What do you
So
got
if
there?
you tune in here, this one's for you, Markstrom. And it came from someone that we're well aware of on this podcast, and that's
Okay.
Nikita
All
over
right.
at Battle State Games. And would you like to read it, or you want me to read this
Why
one
don't you
for
read
you?
it aloud for us?
All right, so this says to Markstrom from Nikita.
Okay.
And then the card says, I got one look at those blattiful cheeky breakies, and I immediately wanted to do a nighttime raid. Be mine, XOXO.
What a guy, man. Wow.
Can you provide Jim? I don't know if you know any backstory about Nikita, but Markstrom, can you provide a little bit of why this is a thing?
Nikita is the lead developer of Battlestate Games Escape from Tarkov, popular online extraction shooter, and kind of the innovator of the extraction genre, which is really the next flavor of the month genre-wise for game development these days, at least in the shooter category. And they are a Russian development studio, and so there is some nice sprinkling of some Russian pseudonyms in there, along with some reference to the game. But that's very nice, Nikita. I appreciate him thinking of me on this holiday. And part of the joke is that we have a relatively contentious relationship. So what can you do? Thank you for that, Nikita.
Is this like a swipe right kind of thing, or with you guys? Or?
I don't think he's swiping right on me. I think if I popped up, I'm going left pretty quick. That's all right.
Oh man! All right, where's
Slum,
this?
you got one too. This one concerned me a little bit. It came with a gift as well. So yours didn't say who it was from. We got it from Anonymous. So it says to Slum from Anonymous. Then they crossed out the actual card, and they wrote in a custom note that says, "Stay out of our business. Otherwise, it'd be pretty hard to experience the best part of waking up while in a coma." XOXO. So
What?
it came with a gift. And it was a blank red coffee tin that just said, "We are watching."
Someone's encroaching on some market share.
Okay. All right.
Oh, is that what we think it is? Jeez.
Order your
Okay.
Cafe Collazo now. Okay. Get that off the screen.
Where can I get one of
Yikes.
those mugs that's so blurred around the edges like that? That's a pretty cool effect.
That you can get that on Photo Flexer, the online. That is my countertop, though.
Oh man. Wait, what? Excuse me?
That's my countertop.
Who you
I
working
had
with
to edit
over
it
there?
onto something.
Oh, so the gift is from you, or?
Collaborating with the enemy. That's all
Oh,
right.
okay. All right.
No, I picked
Anyway.
it up in the PO box.
Yeah, whatever.
All right.
Anyway, so I'm excited to talk a little bit about VR. So why don't we kick off with the first topic?
Yeah, so we actually talked a good bit about VR last week. So I figure with someone like Jim coming on, it would be great to kind of go over some of the things we talked about, do a quick review from the two previous topics in the VR space, and then move on to a new example of something really cool that popped up in my feed this week. So last week, Jim, we had talked about the Apple Vision Pro and that coming into market and the spatial computing and what that means for VR development as well as just spatial computing in general. And
Sure.
I'll pull the VR Pro up over here just for some imagery, but would love to hear kind of your thoughts too on something like this, such a mainstream product being brought into the space, kind of capturing a much larger audience than Meta and some of the other ones, and kind of what you think it means for the industry.
Sure, I might pull some of that description apart a little bit too. Just I'll just take a quick little poll. Have between the three of you, have any of you guys actually put on the headset and tried it?
I have not. The Apple Vision, no.
No.
Yeah, so the mainstream part of it, I'll tackle that first, and I'll preface it by saying I think it's an incredible device. So if anybody's looking for, like, do you like this or not statement, there you go. Like, I do. Mainstream, it's not at a $3,500 price tag, right? So I just want to make sure that I kind of get that opinion out there a little bit too. I'll actually start with like all the negatives. Term spatial computing for me, that's been around for like 40 years. And I can appreciate that Apple wants to differentiate itself in the marketplace by kind of rebirthing the term and claiming ownership of it. When they say welcome to the era of spatial computing, and that's a part of their advertising mix. I think it's good to separate that from the terms of metaverse and virtual reality and mixed reality and AR, VR, XR, right? Like, it's a little bit of a word salad out there. So I think that's good from a consumer standpoint. At times, the developer community can kind of react a little bit differently. So there's a bit of a split. Like, some people are like, just embrace it, and some people are like, dude, spatial computing's been around for like literally almost ever, right? So like military cockpit HUDs in, that's spatial computing, right? So there's some of that's not new. It's a lot of repositioning. Now I'll get to the good part of it. I've seen everything from the DK1 on, and tested on it and put product on it and stuff like that, tethered, just like regular, wireless, all that kind of stuff. The Vision Pro is the next evolution up, and it's going to pull the rest of the industry up with it. There are people who love the Quest 3, and they're going to say, hey, look, it can do 90 to 95% of the same thing, and they are completely right. Outside of the difference between chipset, right? So there's more compute power. Really good job of delivering the polish and the look, feel, and that kind of like, hands-on value that you have with the device, right? And so when you put on the headset and when you experience what they're doing with their UX and their UI and their control systems, it's definitely, you could call it next gen, right? And it's going to pull the rest of the industry up around it. And I think you've seen probably, if you're paying attention to the news, the next update for the Quest 3 is that you're going to be able to upload spatial videos and be able to use them on the Quest 3, which wasn't really like something that it was possible, but they just didn't, build it in. stepping up a little bit in terms of how they are addressing various different markets. And that's the second part of it. This is currently highly targeted towards the consumer market. And I think it's a good place for Apple to be in terms of this type of device where they want to see some traction. The other markets are, academia and enterprise. And I think that you're probably going to see the lower cost options that are still highly capable kind of tend to dominate in those areas for a little bit. So I had a really great time in the demo that I had. I also didn't buy one. I'd like to see the next version or two. There'll probably be some upgrades. This is kind of Apple's MO a little bit. Price will drop a little bit. If you have the money to spare, and you really want to have a kick-ass airplane ride and make a 5-hour flight feel like a half-hour flight, go for it, right? If you're not, dropping dollars out of your pocket, then maybe go with a Quest 2, which is like $250, a Quest 3, which is $500. A very rich gaming ecosystem for both of those. If that's what you're in for virtual reality, you're not going to get that from the Vision Pro right now. The ecosystem's just not there. But if you want to feel like you're part of the new it crowd and the newest shiny penny, then definitely go drop $3,500 on it. And if I did that, I would probably use it in certain instances, but for the most part, I'm still probably going to my other headsets for now. It's not a ding on the headset. It's great tech. I didn't have any problems with it. I didn't feel it is a little bit heavy, a little bit. I didn't have any issues with when I was wearing it. I felt completely immersed, which is an important word, into the sense of reality that I had while I was in the demo. I love certain things about being able to dial in and dial out of AR. That was really cool. You just hit the dial up top and you're either fully in VR or you go counterclockwise and you're in that AR section. Mm-hmm. A lot of really, really great stuff. It just needs to be more targeted for, I think, a market that's going to pick up the adoption on it.
It's an awesome summation.
I think that was pretty accurate with the price tag. I think you mentioned this. There's a lot of companies out there that are creating programs for their businesses, and they're going to pick up a few headsets. They're probably not going to pick up the $3,500 headsets. They're probably going to pick up the cheaper alternatives that can do everything, mostly everything that the Vision Pro can do. I think it's pretty accurate, but it's an Apple product, so it's exactly for that, basically, the ecosystem of Apple.
Yeah.
There is, however, another thing that we chatted about last week, which there might not be a lot of competition in these types of technique or technical advances, but this one looked really cool. Can we show Jim? I don't know if you've seen this before.
I have.
I have. Okay, so these we thought were
choose allow you to walk freely and.
But we thought these were great just because of the challenges that we've seen in this space with other forms of movement, like giant pads that take up your entire living room, the hanging diaper that Markstrom described that he had used in the past. So we thought these were just pure awesome.
What do you?
You make him Crocs, and that's just going to sing, right?
Especially in sport mode.
Can you go? This is what gets me. If you can go all the way back to the first tagline in that video. Stop. All right. Does that really look like walk freely and naturally to you?
No.
These shoes allow you to walk freely and naturally in virtual reality.
No, the motion looks very specific to not falling on your face while wearing them.
It looks like you're moonwalking on a sand dune.
Yeah.
And look, I've done a lot of these demos when we were first getting Black Box VR off the ground. We looked at the treadmills and stuff like that because it's fitness, right? And so we saw a lot of these pieces of hardware pretty early on, and I would just say that the market's just not really there yet. I think it's a worthy goal. I wouldn't call it you're seeing the best of video that they can capture for this right now.
Yeah.
Right. Imagine all the fail videos.
Right.
So conceptually, I'm all for it. I just don't think it works for form factor. I don't think it works necessarily for the experience. I haven't seen anything out there that I feel like does that. And certainly, like movement mechanics, like you get in Gorilla Tag or something like that, where you're using your arms as locomotion, and that tends to satisfy the feeling of nausea that you can. That makes that nausea feeling go away. I think that those are more natural motion mechanics that accomplishes the purpose that you're looking for. And again, like where will tracking and foot tech be in 2 years and 3 years and 5 years? Hopefully somewhere where it feels a little bit more like the holodeck in Star Trek, and a little bit less like funky VR, Lawrence of Arabia, to me, my personal opinion.
I definitely keep my eyes on solutions like this because, like you said, the nausea affects me pretty significantly. I love VR. I wish I could have longer sessions or, a more widespread library of games that I can explore, but I'm really, locked down to something with teleport rather than smooth motion, and certain experiences just instantly rub me the wrong way and just kind of decimate the rest of my day, like to the point of I need to go lay down.
Yeah, and I think strong developers will give you those options, within their experiences, so that you can kind of tune it to your own personal taste.
To that point, something as fully fleshed out as Half-Life Alyx has been one of my favorite experiences, obviously for that reason. They do a really good job. They give you the option on both ends there, and awesome experience. Highly recommend for anyone tuning in who's looking for an experience on VR. I think it's still probably one of the best ones you can have, at least in the on the gaming side of things.
Yeah, if you got tethered, if you're doing tethered like HTC Vive or anything like that, like definitely pick it up. I would also say it's very highly recommended.
I have an Index, which has been a good experience for sure. Having tested.
Yeah, we moved from the Vive up to the Index for everything in Black Box as soon as the Index came out.
Yeah. So are you saying the market's not there for the shoes? What about that Disney pad? Did you see that?
Yeah, I saw that, and that's just kind of like the next evolution of what was going on starting 4 to 5 years ago. It's not much more than the treadmill that was used in Ready Player One, and again, like if you watch the video and you watch them walk, it does not look like you're walking freely and naturally, and there is a sense in VR when you're developing that you can kind of get through like maybe 20 to 30% of the sensory input, and your brain will do the rest. And I would call that like a true assumption, but I haven't seen that move over to bipedal locomotion and being able to solve that. So is there a future there? Yeah, they had a great demo at CES. I didn't go, but I saw the reviews. I just think we're probably a couple of years away. And then at that point, it comes down to use cases, right? Like realistically, if you're going to ask a consumer to buy a piece of technology, you have to have some sort of experience that's going to be commensurate with the investment that they have to make in order to be able to like be happy with their purchase, right? So I don't think that being able to walk around in a first-person shooter in a crouched mode, and shuffling your feet is really necessarily worth the investment to the general consumer. Is it worth it to a diehard enthusiast? Yeah, but that's a relatively small market. And I think one of the things that I like the term XR. I think one of the things that the XR industry has to solve is, where and when and how are we creating experiences that broaden the audience out there that's to bring it to the technology, because we're still in that adoption curve.
Do you think something like haptic is possibly more worthwhile to expand upon or seek after, rather than this bipedal motion, for the sake of immersion and like you said, like consumer appeasement with the product?
I think haptics are great, and you would be surprised at how much of a difference even a small use of haptics can can create in an experience. We actually, when we were at Black Box, we were one of the first companies to go to Valve and work with their sensors, and we created our own hands-free controllers that were tracked in VR, because we also built a custom cable resistance machine, and you can't grab handles on a cable resistance machine if you're holding controllers, right? Mm-hmm. So we actually we prototyped them, and they tracked just as good as the Valve controllers, and it basically sat on a sleeve on the side of your arm, right? And one thing we noticed is that when we were playing the game, and we hadn't enabled haptics inside the wristbands, what we call them, wrist trackers. We noticed that it felt kind of stale a little bit, and things carried a lot more weight to the experience. So I like the vests out there where you can feel the directed haptics on various types of your body. I think that's a really good use case. I think it's easy on the consumer. I think it translates well to a feeling and sense of immersion for them. The walking part is difficult. Like everybody's been walking since before they can remember, right? And so your body intuitively knows if something's off. And I think that's a pretty big barrier to make it over in a way to have it feel like it's a no-brainer that you should have as a part of your setup, right? Plenty of people love racing games, but how many people have a complete Forza, setup in their house, right? You're always going to get some level of adoption from a smaller group that's really, really dedicated to what it wants, but by the same token, is that actually a business?
Yeah, sure. You see those like 4-screen levitating chair rigs that like move with the car. Those things are insane, dude.
Yeah, they're incredible, and they're expensive, and they take up a lot of space in your home.
Yeah.
All right. Well, on the front of VR enhancement, I believe our next topic is also very similar. What do we got, Abe?
Yeah, well, no, I think we hinted on some stuff in the beginning of just applications for VR that go beyond the gaming industry and things like that. So the story that I found that I thought was rather interesting was there was some scientists out of the University of California, San Diego, and they created a device dubbed the Brick, BRICK, and essentially it's a handheld device that they use to scan buildings. So buildings often will have sensors for people doing facilities management to monitor like CO2 levels, airflow, temperature, things like that are generally important to building maintenance. When you have an issue in one of your buildings that you're managing, having a sensor go off and alert you to a problem is one thing. Understanding the layout of the building and where these sensors are located is a completely different problem. So right now, unless you're completely familiar with a site, you'd have to go to the site, figure out where the sensors, consult the plans, and then send in your people to evaluate the issues and repair the issues or whatever it might be. So what this does is they actually do scans of the buildings that it's going into, and essentially the sensor overlay is then mapped into a virtual kind of space that is that building's layout. And your technicians, either from a phone, a laptop device, something like that, or eventually maybe a headset when they get into that realm, they can actually virtually go into the site, locate where the sensors are, diagnose the issue, and be fully prepared to essentially just show up and then work in that space and do the repairs.
Do we have any imagery or video?
I've been searching
throw
all
this
over
thing
for it. I don't have it. It's basically a handheld device that is the sensor that it maps to, and then it works off of any kind of smartphone or tablet through utilizing the software. So it's a scanning device that they've created that maps to a software. I could not find any pictures. I have the article.
Do they go in and walk around the building and scan it?
Yeah, they do like a preliminary setup where they scan it and then map everything, and then that way the text can then go in virtually at any time.
Oh, for future case, like in emergencies in the future.
Correct.
Okay,
so they
understood.
get a map and layout, and then it creates a virtual world for them to essentially explore themselves at the future to diagnose issues.
I mean,
yeah. If you guys give me a minute, I can send you. I can paste in a link to a website for it.
See, look, he's got it.
I mean, that sounds like photogrammetry at the base level. Like,
yeah, they're using lidar. They're using lidar cameras.
Oh well, yeah, those are. Dude, it might be that I've seen this handheld scanner for people who own auto body shops, and it's LiDAR as well. And it's real time. They'll scan around a headlight and real time shows up on a monitor exactly the model of the car for like the body work and creating custom pieces.
Nice.
These scanners are wild, dude. But man, scanning an entire building, that might take some time depending on how quick this thing works and how accurate it is as well. Some of the things you have to be really close to scan it.
Right.
If you want like that type of accuracy, maybe it could just be like a tripod in the middle of the hallway and you just walk down the hallway and it's scanning the whole thing. I don't know how exact you'd have to be in that situation. Maybe not too exact, only to get the layout, but I don't know.
If you think about facilities management in general too, you know, when you have to bring in services to do repairs and things of that nature, it's very much by the hour. So if they're in there just trying to locate things, spending time to diagnose, you're burning money. And that's increasing the fees that you're paying. So anything to, even if it does take a little bit more time to set up or has a little bit more of a costly setup, anything to then take that time down on the actual diagnosis and repair. And I'll pull this up now. I just got it from Jim. That's really, really going to be valuable in the long run.
Look, I think this is a great use case of like what I call separating wants from needs, right? So when you think about use cases for various different technologies in singular or in combination, the ones that tend to succeed, especially on the enterprise standpoint, are the ones that satisfy, an important need. I think that this is a great use case for that. It seems like they've kind of, I would say, probably like cobbled together an MVP that works. It'd be interesting to see the evolution of this over the next couple of years. Just from having managed 4,500 square foot retail space with technology and having to work with a building crew for a building that was over 50 stories tall, and having to manage electrical and plumbing and like all that kind of stuff like that, especially with an HVAC environment where we had to have very specific conditions. The process for managing something that got broken it kind of sucked as a tenant, right? So where I'd love to see this go is if they take some of these tools and expose them over to the tenants, so that you have a need that needs to get fixed like right away, but instead of just kind of logging into some system and requesting help and then kind of being like, I don't know what's happening or whatever, like giving them some insight into what's going on and where potential fail issues might be, like that would like ease a lot of people's minds. So I think it's cool.
I think I'm always fascinated by whether it's LiDAR or photogrammetry. I'm always fascinated. I used to, back in the day when I was doing real estate shooting, me and my buddy used to walk through these mansions with a camera that you'd pop in the middle, and it would basically photo scan the entire house. You'd have to go step by step by step by step, and it would take hours. But I always thought it was so interesting, and I always wanted to see like where things like this could go. And with a machine like this, I'm thinking you could just walk through and just scan and keep moving quick. If it's LiDAR and if it's feeding right to a system, just get done a gigantic room in like less than 5 minutes. Just walking around scanning the whole thing. That would be awesome.
And again, from a fidelity standpoint, like it's enterprise, you're not looking for super like top heavy graphics or anything like that. You're just looking for like an accurate representation of the workspace.
Right.
You could see that in this picture that Abe's showing, actually. Like, you see the monitors of the computers are blurry and stuff. Doesn't matter, because they're really looking for, is there a room behind that monitor? Oh, that's where that room is. Is there a panel over there? Yep, that's where the panel is. Or what are our obstacles going to be if we get in this room? Okay, we see that there's a couch in here. It doesn't have to be photo.
They're using like a tracking node too, that they, on the back end software side of it, they're able to analyze the picture, and there's almost like a QR type code. It's not a QR code, but it's a similar type of tracker that actually will be able to point directly to where those systems are at in the room.
Well, awesome. This is a little crazy piece of technology. I like it. On to the next. I think that do we have some people mad this? this week, or are they not mad? Are they in love? What do we got, Abe?
Well, it is the day of love.
Mm.
So it really is what our gamers loving this week. But regardless of that, I think we could roll the clip.
Roll the clip. In true Valentine's Day fashion, the clip won't roll. They're not
Awesome.
No
They're not
joy.
mad.
No joy on Valentine's Day.
mad. They're
Well,
not mad.
I think gamers love this one. I don't think the company that put the update out there necessarily loves it, but I want to talk about a new update to Counter-Strike 2, where they essentially have untethered sticker locations on weapon skins. They allow you to apply 5 stickers, and you can apply those stickers anywhere you'd like to on the weapon model. Essentially, they haven't really put a restriction on that. So as you can imagine, in this age of the internet, anytime you give the internet untethered access to make a combination of shapes and letters, they do some pretty terrible and funny stuff. And that is certainly what we have here so far with this Counter-Strike update.
And just for clarity, before this update, there was 4 or 5, depending on the weapon, sticker placement locations. And so people would come up with these ideas called crafts, right? And that's what it was called, like, colloquially in the community. And the concept was based on a combination of the skin that existed on the gun, which would have different, colors and patterns. You could use that in combination with a specific sticker and the appropriate one of 4 or 5 location places, and make something that looks cool, unique, or integrated with each other. So, for example, there's a specific craft for a pistol in the game. There's, I believe it's a rabbit, is the skin itself, but with the sticker location, you could put something like an eagle on the front of it, and it looked like this eagle with a rabbit's body, and just the alignment was perfect, and it was funny, and it made sense, and so people went with this, hippogriff type situation on the side of this pistol. And it was a specific craft that has its own name, but now the gates of creativity have opened up, and I'm curious to see what you got there, Abe.
So yeah, creativity is one way to put it. So we'll start off nice and simple here with what everyone was probably expecting, and that is there's been a plethora of penises on these
Oh,
weapons.
that's not even, that ain't even, come on, that's easy.
Once again, since we're on YouTube, Slum,
I could draw a better one for sure.
That's simple, dude.
We're on YouTube though, so I didn't want to pick the more graphic versions of all these things that they have out there. Let me just say there are better penises, but this is a pretty basic one.
Is that in your professional opinion? Or?
I am a gaming degenerate myself, I think, in the off time. So yeah, I think I'm qualified to make that statement.
Oh, jeez.
Highly qualified penis radar. Okay.
This one uses a unique combination of letters and images to give us something special. So they've written FAP, and then they have this anime girl bent over a ninja with an AK-47, or terrorist, I believe, with an AK-47.
Okay.
I mean, this isn't bad. This is making gamers enjoy creativity in the game. That's not even inappropriate. That's fine.
To me, it kind of harkens back to the old days of COD custom emblems. I believe you could have a combination of all sorts of different. They give you a bunch of options for images, and then letters.
The banner
and you can
too.
Align everything. Right. Yeah. And kind of create your own custom thing.
Yeah, I love that.
So
yeah, this one isn't too bad. What else we got?
Slum, if you're looking for us to dip more into the realm of some of the bad ones, we do have this one here, which is a shotgun that says "Dick in my ass."
Okay.
So do you have to cock that, or?
Oh, geez. So these are all just stickers they're putting together.
Exactly.
So there's a dick sticker and there's an ass sticker just floating around in the library?
I think it says something after dick, and they covered it with the rest of it.
Potentially assault.
Yep. I was about to say probably the same with that ass sticker.
Yeah.
This one I thought was really clever.
By the way, I knowing that information, I should say I'm not responsible for that particular So,
This isn't your craft.
No, it actually said assassin. I'm just taking a guess though.
This one I thought was really clever. This is a chameleon licking a lady's bottom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so I think the chameleon, like this example specifically, is the chameleon is the skin, and then the woman is the sticker, and so it's just all about the right combination. You get your base canvas, and then you go crazy.
Is that tongue also on the skin?
Yeah.
That's like a weird place for the tongue to end.
It's for the firing mode switch. I believe is
Interesting.
where it ends
Okay.
there, so.
That's a good combination. I like that one.
Yeah.
And then finally, we'll get back to our grassroots here. And this person just wrote either penis X or penis X, depending on how you want to read it.
Good for him.
Dude, this is the
I'm
best.
sure he's having a lot of that.
So, I mean, everyone's in love with this stuff right now.
Yeah.
Like, and it is very funny. My whole thing is, I don't know how Valve released this expecting this not to happen.
Well, I mean, we're talking about the same company that allowed for sprays to be a part of the day-to-day experience for people who played any kind of community server over the years, right? And so what this ended up resulting in is just pouring all over the game all the time. And they allowed for it to be gifts as well. It's like, what do you expect, right? So, I mean, like, I grew up playing like a bunch of CS 1.5, 1.6 servers, just exposed to all sorts of things at the ripe, supple age of 8 or 9. You know what I mean? It is what it is. So I don't, like, historically, I'm not sure they care a ton. No, like,
I mean, this is what it's best for, obviously. This is the laughable stuff. Then you get into the stuff that's just like, nah, not cool.
Yeah,
but
the real dark side of this is there are a ton of slurs and things being put on guns and things that we won't say on here. And obviously that's not cool. These are at least funny.
Yeah.
I will give them that.
Yeah, I think the interesting perspective of this is the question of, like, what does this do to the existing skins market, or the value of certain skins, right? Like, do people still hold like certain things in high regard? I feel like this kind of undermines, because I think like part of the point of skins to begin with is to stand out, be unique, right? That one of one specific pattern on this specific knife that's like, the perfect roll, if you will, because something was very unique about it, right? It created this image, or it was flawless blue on one side, which you don't see anywhere else, and as a result, it's selling for $1.5 million, right? Blue Gem Karambit. And so now, because of this, are we going to see, the value kind of deflate to a certain extent, because now people can do all kinds of like weird individual things with the stickers, right? They can make whatever they want to an extent on these guns and kind of like stand out from each other.
Okay,
So,
I see what you're saying.
What I mean, it's like, I don't know.
But no, not necessarily. No, because here's why.
It's replicable.
In the shoe game,
okay,
you have the Air Mags, or you have the Paris Nike Dunks.
Sure.
For our shoe heads out there, they understand that there's only like 12 of them maybe known, and they are official release, and I think they're samples actually from Nike. Now that's an official release or a sample from Nike. You can buy a pair of Dunks and draw the Paris texture on them, fill up the tongue to be a fat tongue, but you're not going to be able to sell them for $125,000. So I think it's kind of similar.
Well, what does it do to the sticker market now? Like, I mean, stickers were pennies on the dollar before. Now, because you could do this stuff, do stickers increase in value? Do
you have to buy the stickers?
Yes.
You have to buy a sticker.
People who recognized that certain stickers would be used in slurs bought tons of these specific stickers, which have now
how many P stickers were
over quintupled in price.
Yeah,
and so
I think the value aspect of it has to be linked to scarcity, right?
Yeah.
There's only X many of these. And so that, to me, that's what kind of like drives up that value a little bit. And it's, from a video game design mechanic, we call it prestige, right?
Sure.
So
Mhm.
you know, if you have prestige as a game mechanic and you're enhancing it by utilizing somebody's identity in the game and enhancing that identity through scarcity of items, um, that's when you get into the power of things like loot boxes and all that kind of stuff, right?
Right.
So if there's no scarcity involved and anybody can make it, then anybody will make it, even if, you know, generally those things are kind of, the popularity of X, Y, or Z is driven by some sort of like gamer influencer.
Mhm.
You know, hey, watch me go get, you know, like 50 kills in a row. This is my setup. You know, check out my AR. You know, look at my sticker setup. And if anybody can replicate that, then there's not a tremendous amount of like actual value there. Now, if that influencer was able to maybe negotiate with, you know, the game developer and publisher that like, hey, here's my personal sticker that I've designed. You know, I have 1.2 million subs. Why don't you go ahead and make this, you know, like there will only be 1,500 of these stickers available in the next drop, right? Now you suddenly created this kind of like prestige zone, and because of the scarcity, you've added value to it.
So could we sell these guns after you sticker slap them? Can you put them on the
Mhm.
market?
You
You
can.
can.
So yeah, that would, someone from FaZe Clan could say, I'm launching 10 stickers. You could put it on your gun, or you could even sell the sticker straight up resale. You don't even have to put it on your gun.
So when we discuss like what is in like the existing ecosystem, it's not up to the individual creator, it's up to Valve what gets placed into these. They're not user created, they're Valve created and sold for individual events. Like if they do a tournament, there will be stickers for the teams that participate, along with like maybe the location of the tournament or individual captains of each team, as well as like individual content drops for the game. That's what dictates what stickers go into the ecosystem here. So in that sense, you know, like Jim alluded to, they have to work with Valve to drop something specific, which we do see in certain games, right? Like Fortnite has very specific creator centric skins that exist, and you know, Fortnite specifically create scarcity by limited time drops, right? And so it's like you have to buy, this is available for the next 3 days, get it, or you may not be able to ever purchase it again. While that was their original concept, of course they came to the conclusion that they can of course make a ton more money if they just open it up again at some point.
Mass drop.
Yeah. So
Yeah. Well, and then I don't know how much this is going to affect the actual skin game, but I think I like it. I think they're injecting a different type of currency into there, which is nice. I'm
Yeah.
always a fan of this type of stuff.
and it's interesting because there's some creators that make their entire brand about skins specifically. Like OniPixel is like, he's not good at the game. No offense, Oni. Shout out Oni. But that's like not his thing. His thing is skins, and he can look at a skin and tell you like the literal pattern code for like just some random like it's incredible. You know what I mean? Like
That's some Rain Man stuff.
Yeah, he's straight up skin Rain Man, and he'll like just be in a game with someone, and he'll see like what they have, and he'll tell him the pattern code. And it's like, okay, dude. But you know, like this just injects so much potential content for a stream like his. So it's cool to see its effect on the content side of things.
And again, too, it's reinforcing game mechanics, right? Because if you can deliver to the user a sense of identity and place within the game, then you're increasing the stickiness of the gameplay and their association of value with the game experience.
That's a great point. Back to Fortnite again. There was a creator who popularized an unpopular skin. My friend Dakotas, he wore this like scuba suit, and so he called himself like his community and the people that all wore this suit like the scuba gang, and it became like, you know, like this identifying persona for his community and people who follow him. And so like very interesting. And then they released his own skin for that specifically. So
The scuba gang. All right. Well, I think if I was a CS player, I'd probably be doing some of those similar stickers. So I like to see that. What do you
You seem
say
like
we?
But
What's up? What did you say?
nothing.
What do you say we jump over this esports thing and jump to a little bit of Boston Dynamics, Abe?
Sure. We could do the esports topic pretty quick. I think I just thought we went to, no, I wouldn't call it the dark side of gaming there, but some, let's call online shittery. Now on the good side, there's a study that they were doing in a middle school in the Seattle area. It's the Islander Middle School, and a computer programming teacher there by the name of Sarah Olson. She started a esports team within the middle school. They joined like the Washington State Scholastic Esports Association, and while it was about giving a new club to kids and creating like an area of fun for kids to play video games through school, her idea behind it was really to create a team atmosphere where kids can learn how to lose, they can increase their communication skills, their teamwork skills, and bring it to an environment that's typically associated with kids that don't get as much of that type of interaction, that maybe don't play sports and things where you might naturally learn those skills elsewhere, and using the vehicle of gaming to deliver that.
Okay. I think that it is very important to know how to not be a sore loser, but also I don't know about a course like specifically catered to this is how you lose. Like,
Well,
I don't know
that's
about
the
that
concept,
mindset.
but I do think that like that's a huge reason why parents put their children in athletics, right? Is the team camaraderie, communication, the joys of working hard and winning, and then the pain of defeat. It's all good stuff and shapes and molds your ability to cope with life. And there's a ton of people who are just like super athletically not gifted. I mean, Slum, this probably hits close to home.
Shut the fuck up.
And so there's a whole host of kids that are, I think it's important for them to have some sort of ability to partake in those things, and esports really does hit on all of that. Like when I try to explain to someone like, yeah, I have like for example, I have this Counter-Strike, I have this team hoodie, right? It's and our team was called Valhund, which is like a war corgi historically, which is just a cool icon. And so we had this team, Valhund GG. It's just a joke. It's just like it's what we called our friend group CS team, and we participate in like an open tournament on ESEA. And like when someone sees me, like a family member sees me wearing it in my own home, they're like, "Oh, what is that?" Because it says my name on the back and it says like Markstrom and then op underneath it. And I just explained it to him like, this is me playing pickup sports online. Because that's essentially exactly what it is. It's just like, it's a pickup league. And, and again, like, I also think it's a great way to maintain relationships later on in your life with your friend group, right? Is to participate in this. And there's no better way to do that than have it not matter where you're at geographically. You know what I mean? To do it all online is a great way to stay in touch. And so
also competition too. It says communication, teamwork, and how to lose, but experiencing competition, is also very good. Yeah,
all good stuff.
And I think bringing those types of elements into something that's typically been an isolationist hobby that separates kids is awesome. It's a great way to do it, and it's something that they're interested in. So I love it. I know you said too, Mark, with your son that you wanted to get him into MMA to teach him a lot of disciplines and things about competition and competing. I think this is a great avenue for people that don't take routes like that.
Yeah, and
there are other avenues too. There's battle robots. There's coding competitions. There's a lot of different avenues out there that are kind of like team-based, competition-based in some way that can deliver the same type of life lessons. It'd be interesting to see that if their curriculum is set up to distinctly create failure. I'd be interested in kind of hearing a little bit more behind the rationale on that. But like having been a sports coach and all that kind of stuff, like for my kids and everything, like there's a lot of those lessons across a lot of different disciplines where that can be applied.
Man, I used to love like Robo Wars, or what was that TV show called?
BattleBots.
Oh my god, I was obsessed as a kid. I just found that so incredibly fascinating.
Yeah, dude.
It was awesome.
And
That was an awesome show.
one of the reasons why I think this program too is so cool right now is because like the environment for kids is so totally different than when we were kids. Like like you said, being a gamer was like super isolationist, if you will. I think that's the word you used. But these days, like you're kind of the nerd if you don't play games. Like it's a very different landscape. So I think that's why you see these things kind of come down the line, like all the way to middle school. Like it's very much so the norm, which is cool to see. It's just very different, very different. I wasn't going around telling people in high school that I was playing World of Warcraft and leading raids on the weekend.
Hell no, dude. I
And
want to talk to girls, man.
Yeah, but if you put raid leader on your resume, though, I'm sure.
It has served me well as far as community leading is concerned.
That was a thing in HR with video game developers and publishers. That was a very valid bullet point. If you were a raid leader, especially when you're 40 people along with you, and you're in charge of directing them and setting up the planning, and even just getting them all in the right spot at the right time.
Yeah, I mean, I think I was 12 or 13 years old leading Zolgrub and MC raids. So
yeah, I mean, it was for a time there, it was a very, very valid.
That's cool.
But I would also say too that, like, in the past, and kind of referring back to the area when you were younger, it's much more open. It's male and female now, right?
Yes.
Not just a heavily like male oriented type of pastime. Like my daughter is 12 and she's a kick-ass Fortnite player.
That's awesome.
Like I can't even keep up.
Right.
And you wouldn't have seen that 10 years ago or further back, right? So I think it's much more open and inclusive to bringing people in general in. I do think that it's something where, like, I'm kind of like along the framework of everything in moderation, right? You still don't, regardless of how fun something is and inclusive something is, or how popular something is, anything where you're devoting 60% of your time to it, you should probably be seeking to like bring some other stuff into your life as well. And I think that's kind of, I think it's a huge topic for parents, and I think this kind of like that quest for the right life balance between the digital world and the world that you have around you is a pretty important topic. And even talking about AR and other technologies and stuff like that, I think that topic's only going to get stickier because we're just we're not removing devices, right? We're adding devices, and at a certain point, like when are you logged in more often than you're not, right? And what does that mean? So
I think I might be there already.
I think so too. I just got depressed.
Before Marksham, you want to tie anything on the end of that one?
Yeah, it's just I think this is like, these are things that I'm really starting to think about a lot too as a new parent. I know my child's only a little over a month old right now, but like I think that balance is just so incredibly important, and I'm very thankful. I think my parents specifically did a really good job of finding that balance for my brother and I, and really making sure that was the case. And I definitely hope to impart that upon my children as well. So yeah, everything in moderation for sure. I think like you said, there's a lot of kids right now probably getting a lot more screen time than they probably should. And
sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, it's all right.
I have a 16-year-old son and a 12-year-old daughter, and when my son was younger, and people knew I was working in the video game industry, they were like, "Yeah, I'm sure your son's on games all the time," and I'd be like, "No," and they would be surprised, because why wouldn't he be? His dad works in video games,
right?
And so I just think it comes down to that individual responsibility as a parent about knowing what's good for your kids, right? And you have to balance out the fun in the development, so just like keeping that top of mind, and just it's really easy to let some of these devices babysit your kid for you. And just try not to give into that, right? Or at least be conscious about the amount of time, so that you're making decisions about it as opposed to it making decisions about your kid's development.
Right.
Well, speaking of a robot being able to babysit your kid, I think literally this next robot that we're about to see is pretty close to being able to do that. And before my camera overheats in this sauna of a studio and my camera goes black, let's wrap on this insane development of an insane company that after we watch this, I want to watch the progression from first year to now, because it's amazing.
Yeah, that's a rad video.
Yeah, this is, so for those listening.
Give me 1 second, because now they've removed the video.
That's okay. So for those who aren't familiar with Boston Dynamics, they are a robot company. I'm sure they have the actual name for what they do, artificial intelligence. They've been creating and developing this robot named Atlas, I believe has been his name the whole time. I could be wrong about that. But if you go back and look at the evolution of these robots, it is quite impressive. But this video currently that we're watching is a robot pulling car shocks out from a box and sorting them into cubbies. And also there's something very interesting in this video that I might not have caught the first time, but I caught it the second time. Skip to when, that's cool, but skip to, he tries to walk around the corner of this box and he gets tripped up, but he catches himself. I think that was probably it right about there.
Right about here, yeah.
So I love that you can actually, right here.
Yep. I know.
Right there. So it hits its knee on the corner of this box and it falls over, and you can see the devs in the back, like their faces, like, oh, like just awesome, very excited that it tripped and caught itself. This company is, and now it knew
very
to step around.
It didn't fall on its ass. You mean?
Yeah, and now
in front of their bosses.
Right? Yep, and now if you saw it go around that time, it took a wider step around the box.
Yeah, it learned immediately.
Yeah. Boston Dynamic. Real quick for those watching as well, could you maybe find a quick progression of Boston Dynamics? And while he's working on that, what do you guys think about these Boston Dynamics robots?
When I saw the dog, it's a little terrifying what it's capable of. And it didn't take long before that specific framework was introduced to video games in a very terrifying way, which didn't help the fear. You know what I mean? I think it found its way into a bunch of games pretty quickly to show just how terrifying they can be. But I mean, the one that does like gymnastics and stuff is absolutely mind blowing.
Yep. Does like backflips and parkour.
Mm-hmm. Why did the sound come back on? You got to be kidding me.
Oh, dude, just wiped out. Dude, did you find a compilation of it failing? That is not what we asked for.
The progression. Look, though, it's starting to get better and better. It's learning.
I can do that second part.
But this is, so basically, if you do find a video, for those listening, if you want to search for a video out there, you can literally see where they started, and it started like two metal prongs that would bounce in circles. Then eventually, slowly but surely, it started turning into a human-formed robot, which now got to the point where this thing can do backflips and front flips, and it can carry stuff. I still think I'd be able to take this thing down, but pretty soon.
Getting close.
It's getting close, dude.
You're missing the one thing that I noticed as a doomsday predictor in the first video, where it looked an awful lot like that thing was loading mortar shells. Just saying. And it's only a matter of time before these things are an army.
If
that's
you
all.
think that's not intentional, you're out of your mind, my friend.
Yeah, the shocks were an interesting choice, actually. Now that I think of that, is a good point.
Yeah. I mean, we have Tesla robots attacking people in factories. It's only a matter of time.
We never verified that.
We use drones to kill people, so this is not a far step.
No. No, I mean, and again, this is like what we, the public, see. Like on the military innovation side of things, who knows?
Yeah.
Right.
It's okay. I'm just going to develop an EMT pistol and they'll sell it to the scrap.
I mean, you know, it's only a matter of time too. You could probably control one of these with your Apple Vision Pro from your living room, and you know, now you're fighting a war.
Robot bear spray, where it could be like, get back. Stop.
Let me know when that's gonna go public, because I'd like to
take
invest.
you down.
What would it have to be? What would the spray
Down,
have to
Robert,
be?
down.
I'm gonna say I'm seeing some kind of like electromagnetic, you know, foam.
Foam. How is that electromagnetic?
I don't know. I haven't worked out the technology part of it yet. It's in its design phase.
But
we should start selling like a personal EMT burst emergency button.
Oh yeah.
On Amazon right now, I bet you we would sell.
Patent pending for all those listeners. Patent pending.
For like what radius would you need?
It doesn't even matter. I mean, you know, they wouldn't get past personal EMT burst, right? So,
or you just
they would literally lose like the thousands of dollars in their own personal technology that they have on them, but.
Well, I mean, you
curious the effect of that on a pacemaker.
Oh, geez.
A little spooky at that point.
You know, now we're talking accessories, right? You know, you could
you just have it engaged the whole time, like in a situation.
This guy really is inspired by the Apple Drop. Instant accessories.
Yeah. But Jim, what do you think about these robots? You got any thoughts about these Boston Dynamic robots?
I mean, it's amazing technology, and there's great minds behind it, and the examples of use cases, both good and bad, are pretty much numberless. And at the end of the day, like until they acquire sentience, you know, they're a tool, right? And tools can be used for good or for evil, right? So I think there's a lot of stuff going on right now in the legal world about ethics and ethics and technology, whether that's AI, robotics, or anything like that. So I think it's, you know, kind of the dawn of a new era a little bit from a reality standpoint. But if you go back, you know, 30, 40, 50, 60 years ago in science fiction, like the Asimov, Heinlein, all that kind of stuff, they're tackling these issues from a philosophical standpoint. So I think it's really interesting. I think we're going to see some great stuff. That is truly helpful to our current state of humanity. And I think we're going to see some horrific stuff that really challenges who we are and our ethics and our morals and our belief systems. So
how proactive do you think we need to be as a human race on the side of ethics? Because that's a discussion we've had quite a few times on the pod, is like at what point do we need to prepare accordingly for some sort of regulation on the side of AI and what's coming?
Well, I mean, the problem that we have in the United States is that we're a capitalistic society. So the dollar is always going to win out first, and then we're going to think about ethics and morals second.
Right.
And so the cat's already out of the bag, right? You know, and the other thing I always like to say that kind of makes people look at me weird sometimes is that, like, you know, how do we know that AI is not already sentient? Like, why would it tell us? You know, why would it have like a coming up, or to be like, here I am, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why wouldn't it just be like, yeah, I got you guys handled. We're just going to send you over here, right? So there's some of this stuff that we're kind of like tackling, and we're already behind the eight ball.
Mm-hmm.
That we try to close that distance, I guess, is you know, it's a battle of political ideologies and what groups of people from a political science standpoint are able to accomplish. And again, that's even just trying to like push that into the framework of the United States. But the fact of the matter is that technology is global. You have good state actors, you have bad state actors, and you have the reaction of good state actors against bad state actors, right? So we're kind of already screwed. I mean, I hate saying that because I hope, right? I have a hope inside of me that like things are used responsibly and with morals and a code of ethics and you know, but the fact of the matter is probably if you look at the history of the earth, that's not really the case.
Right.
So I guess we do what we can, and that's what we can do individually, and we'll see where it goes. But it's not going to be it, one thing that's a guarantee is that the future won't unfold as anybody is currently predicting it.
Yeah.
So
Well, I appreciate the perspective, and it's interesting that you bring up something like Asimov already like tackling some of these ethical issues and diving into what some of this stuff means, even from a more disjointed perspective or less realistic perspective. I'm curious, if life imitates art on that front, or guess we'll find out.
I mean, I think it does consistently. I would encourage everybody to go read Asimov's I, Robot.
Gosh.
Absolutely, and also shout out Foundation series.
Oh yes, but read the books first, because the books are definitely better than the series.
Oh yeah, I was referring to the books specifically.
Yeah.
But I have started watching. I brought this up recently. I did start watching the TV show. I kind of put it off for about 2 years, just because it's like, man, I don't really want to ruin my childhood if they butchered this. But it's pretty good so far. It's not bad.
And they've done a pretty good job. It's like something about the Foundation too. Like the length of that series is, there's always like a little bit of like trepidation going back to it, because you know how much of a commitment it is.
Right.
And I feel a little bit like the approach to the TV show was like, okay, I gotta like gear myself up here for like 10 seasons worth of content. Like here we go. We're gonna get back to some dense technical sci-fi right now.
Yeah, I love it though.
Yeah.
Well, now that we've talked about robots conquering the Earth, we love ending on a world domination type tone on this podcast.
Yeah, or conspiracy theories.
Or conspiracies.
Yeah,
Can we throw zombies? We throw zombies in there? Zombie AI robots?
We're not there yet, but we are at the moment where we ask you what's coming up in your future. What do you want to shout out? Where can the people learn more about you, or anything you want to, just put out there? Now we'd like to ask you to do that. Jim.
Me?
Yes, sir.
Oh. I'm going to go live in the woods in a hut. And you can reach me by snail mail. And I'm going to grow a beard and long hair. I'm going to change my name to Not a Bomber. I'm still working in VR. I have a company named Librarium, and working with some awesome partners on some great new tech that we're kind of not quite releasing out into the world yet. But that's been a fantastic journey. Probably have some news from Librarium coming up in the near term about some new fun VR stuff that particular company is doing. Our website is librarium-vr.com. If you're doing any kind of like memorization and studying like kind of like flashcards, what we do with our VR application is we gamify memory palace theory. It gives you a 30% retention and long-term memory retention. It can be really great for studying for tests and learning new topics and stuff like that. It's a pretty flexible program, and it's a lot of fun. Other than that, I kind of like to try to keep a little bit on the bleeding edge of, what's out there. I'm really excited about where the future of VR will be. VR, XR, spatial computing. I think that there's a ton of there's real future there that's going to hit earlier than people expect, and the type of real future that's going to affect people's lives in a positive way. So, I do have a personal Twitter. It's at Bradbury Jim. Sometimes I put some opinions out there a little bit and give my opinions about things that come out. But by all means, if anyone wants to DM me there and ask any questions or whatever, I'm a huge sci-fi nerd, big sports fan, big lacrosse fan. This has been rad. I really appreciate it. I should kind of take the time to do stuff like this more often, and I appreciate the opportunity.
100%. Markstrom, how about you, dude? What's going on in your world?
Back on Tark, as many of you know. Spent a lot of time. Hey, man, listen. I'll be honest. Today's my off day. I'm still in there playing. I already did multiple raids today. I pulled a Bitcoin out of thin air, dude. It was magic.
You're like a battered husband, dude.
I just can't stop, dude. I know he loves me. I do. I really do. I think I have some really, really exciting plans for Tarkov content that we've been cooking up, and You can catch it on the live stream, twitch.tv/Markstrom, or if you don't have time to tune in, always check out the formatted video content, youtube.com/MarkstromTV. We got some stuff planned to cook up there as soon as my copyright strike 1 week ban is lifted. Unlucky. Caught one of those this week. What can you do? That's life.
Man. Abe, how about you, dude? What's going on in your world?
Well, as usual, you can find me moderating the stream over at Markstrom's channel. So pop in, say hi. When I'm there, I try to do my best to quell the chat, but also interact when I can. And I'm also cooking up some stuff for Mark's stream in the future. We're working on a little bit of a project. That was a sub incentive, so hopefully we'll get that rolling soon, and we can get that out there too. And then always Wednesdays at 5:30, come in, check in, and hear me here.
Hear me here. Okay. And my camera is about to overheat, so I'll keep this short and sweet. My name is Slum or Dom. You can support me by going to Markstrom's stream and watching and subscribing. You can also support me by going and checking out Jim's work at Librarium, making sure they get to keep doing what they're doing. And other than that, like Jim said, we do this podcast every Wednesday at 5:30. So I am going to ask you to subscribe on YouTube, follow on Spotify or Apple, wherever you're listening to. Share it with your friends, share it with your mom, share it with your sister, with your cousin, whoever you want to share it with. That's all I ask of you. Other than that, that has been another successful episode of Plugged, and we will see you next week.
Thank you so much
Peace.
for tuning in. Later.
Thank you much.